wonders of God's love, and wonders of God's love, and wonders, wonders of God's love.
Good morning. Welcome to Trinity Church of Austin. I'm Sid Hall, Trinity's lead minister, and we are happy that you joined us on this first Sunday after Christmas. If you're wondering about my outfit, I thought, well, I could tell you that it's Jedi Sunday and come in dressed like this, but instead, I'll let you know this is Pajama Sunday. We started this tradition a number of years ago at Trinity, that the Sunday following our Christmas Eve service would be a playful time where people showed up in pajamas, and when we were meeting face to face, we'd even have tamales and special treats to celebrate the very laid back time together after all the craziness and busyness of Christmas. So maybe every Sunday's Pajama Sunday for you, since we've been meeting virtually. But we're glad that you joined us today. Today, we want you to know that even though we're meeting virtually, we're still trying to carry on the wonderful tradition that we have at Trinity of celebrating Christmas. And so if you would like to send prayers in, you can text them. If you would like to download a downloadable order of worship, you can find that in the YouTube video. We also have emails for Pastoral Care and information on how to give. So all of that is found below, and you'll see it from time to time throughout the worship service. Today our particular theme is When the Song of the Angels is Stilled. And it's based on a marvelous poem by the African American activist and poet Howard Thurman, and in it we get a real sense of, now what? What do we do after Christmas? What happens when the angels have left, when the Magi have left, when all the buzz and the excitement is over? Now what? And so this week we get to talk about now what. So welcome. Glad that you're with us. And if you have a candle, you may light it as a way to bring in sacred space. We've already lit our Christ candle here along with our 4 Advent candles, but you can light one yourself. At Trinity Church of Austin, we want you to know this, and this is so important to us. And whether we're meeting virtually or face to face, this is the core of our mission and who we try to be as a community. No matter who you are, who you love, what you believe or don't believe, you are welcome here. Welcome, friends, to the celebration.
Hello, my name is Angela Hobbs. I'm the Interim Children's Ministry Director here at Trinity. Did you know that the 12 days of Christmas actually start on December 25th and go all the way until January 5th? Well, in honor of this time, we're going to read a book from Pete the Cat called Pete the Cat's 12 Groovy Days of Christmas. On the first day of Christmas, Pete gave to me a road trip to the sea. Groovy. On the second day of Christmas, Pete gave to me 2 fuzzy gloves and a road trip to the sea. Groovy. On the third day of Christmas, Pete gave to me 3 yummy cupcakes, 2 fuzzy gloves, and a road trip to the sea. Groovy. On the fourth day of Christmas, Pete gave to me 4 far out surfboards, 3 yummy cupcakes, 2 fuzzy gloves, and a road trip to the sea. Groovy! On the 5th day of Christmas, Pete gave to me, what's it gonna be? 5 onion rings, 4 far out surfboards, 3 yummy cupcakes, 2 fuzzy gloves, and a road trip to the sea. Groovy. On the 6th day of Christmas, Pete gave to me 6 skateboards rolling, 5 onion rings, 4 far out surfboards, 3 yummy cupcakes, 2 fuzzy gloves, and a road trip to the sea. Groovy! On the 7th day of Christmas, Pete gave to me 7 concert tickets, 6 skateboards rolling, 5 onion rings, 4 far out surfboards, 3 yummy cupcakes, 2 fuzzy gloves, and a road trip to the sea. Groovy! On the 8th day of Christmas, Pete gave to me 8 guitars strumming, 7 concert tickets, 6 skateboards rolling, 5 onion rings, 4 far out surfboards, 3 yummy cupcakes, 2 fuzzy gloves, and a road trip to the sea. Groovy! On the 9th day of Christmas, Pete gave to me 9 ugly sweaters, 8 guitars strumming, 7 concert tickets, 6 skateboards rolling, 5 onion rings, 4 far out surfboards, 3 yummy cupcakes, 2 fuzzy gloves, and a road trip to the sea. Groovy. On the 10th day of Christmas, Pete gave to me 10 sloths a-sleeping, 9 ugly sweaters, 8 guitars strumming, 7 concert tickets, 6 skateboards rolling, 5 onion rings, 4 far out surfboards, 3 yummy cupcakes, 2 fuzzy gloves, and a road trip to the sea. Groovy. On the 11th day of Christmas, Pete gave to me 11 balls a-bouncing, 10 sloths a-sleeping, 9 ugly sweaters, 8 guitars strumming, 7 concert tickets, 6 skateboards rolling, 5 onion rings, 4 far out surfboards, 3 yummy cupcakes, 2 fuzzy gloves, and a road trip to the sea. Groovy. I think we have 1 day left. On the 12th day of Christmas, Pete gave to me 12 friends a-rockin', 11 balls a-bouncing, 10 sloths a-sleeping, 9 ugly sweaters, 8 guitars strumming, 7 concert tickets, 6 skateboards rolling, 5 onion rings, 4 far out surfboards, 3 yummy cupcakes, 2 fuzzy gloves, and a road trip to the sea. Groovy. The end. Let us pray. Please repeat after me. Dear God, thank you for Christmas time. Thank you for friends and family. Help us to keep the love and spirit of Christmas alive all year long. Amen.
Hi, I'm Tim Brace, Music Director at Trinity Church of Austin. For this morning's meditation, I'd like for us together to do an exercise called metta meditation, which is an exercise to cultivate compassion and kindness in ourselves, in our acts toward others. The word metta is a Pali word. From India, it goes back to the Hindu traditions, to Buddhist traditions, Jainism, and it is often chanted or practiced in order to cultivate loving kindness in the practitioners. So relax your body, close your eyes, take a breath, feel your breath, feel your heartbeat, feel yourself alive, and the joy of that. Now bring into your mind someone very close to you, someone dear to you. Hold them in your heart and your mind and say to them, may you be free of physical suffering. May you be free of mental suffering. And may you take care of your own happiness. Now, someone else, bring into your mind someone else that you also know well, perhaps a colleague, a neighbor, another family member, a little further from your most inner circle. Hold them in your heart and in your mind and say to them, may you be free from physical suffering. May you be free from mental suffering. May you take care of your own happiness. Now we'll cast the net a little wider. People in your community, other neighbors, the people in this community, people in your subdivision or in your area in which you live, your apartment complex. May you be free from physical suffering. May you be free from mental suffering. May you take care of your own happiness. Now, here's something a little harder. Think of someone you have trouble with, you've not gotten along with. Maybe you don't approve of their behavior. It could be someone you know well, it could be a political figure. One way this helps is to realize that some people act badly because they are suffering. Bring them into your mind and say to them, may you be free from physical suffering. May you be free from mental suffering. May you take care of your own happiness. Take a breath. Bring yourself back into the room. Open your eyes. This is a good exercise that helps you to embody kindness and compassion in your acts toward others at any given moment. There's this wonderful story by Tolstoy called The Three Questions. And skipping to the end, spoilers, basically there are three questions: when, who, and what. And the answer Tolstoy gives essentially is the when is now, the who is whoever you're with, and the what is to act with kindness and compassion. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. I'm Mark Moore. I'm the Associate Minister here at Trinity, and this is the time that we hear your prayers. The prayers of our community have always been an important part of our worship at Trinity. And whether we're sitting in the big circle in the sanctuary or sitting in our living rooms at home, the circle of love and care is unbroken. In these next few minutes, let us give voice to our prayers in community. If you don't text your prayer to be read aloud, or if we get to the end of our prayer time, feel free to type your prayer in the YouTube video chat box. I invite you now into a time and an attitude of prayer. are there prayers now that you would offer for our lives and for our community? Please text your prayer to 512-766-3123. I would begin this morning by letting you know that our dear friend and Trinity member, Ali Garmani, has had a stroke on Christmas Eve. And we understand that you're listening this morning, Ali, and we want to let you know that you are in our prayers and that we love you very much. Healing and joyful spirit, receive our prayers. Please pray for Leroy Philbrook, Dina and Kenneth's nephew, who is positive with COVID. Healing and joyful spirit, receive our prayers. And from Mika, a prayer for Martin, a dear friend who is very ill with COVID-19, as well as other nasty respiratory infection. Hospitals are mostly at capacity in Cape Town, so he is struggling to get the care that he needs. Healing and joyful spirit, receive our prayer. Prayers that President Trump will cooperate and get COVID relief enabled. Healing and joyful spirit, receive our prayers. And a prayer of blessings for all. Healing and joyful spirit, receive our prayers. Let us hold these prayers and those cradled in the silence of our hearts in a moment of silence. In our prayer time this Advent and Christmas, we'll use the words of Jan Richardson for our meditation. She writes, "I cannot tell you how the light comes, but that it does, that it will, that it works its way into the deepest dark that enfolds you, though it may seem long ages in coming or arrive in a shape you did not foresee. And so may we this day turn towards it. May we lift our faces and let it find us. May we bend our bodies to follow the arc it makes. May we open and more open still to the blessed light that comes. Amen."
Our song of reflection for the series is "Of Our Mother's Womb Created," based on an ancient plain chant with new lyrics from Sid Hall. We are grateful to Dave Robinson, Carol Lewis, and Light German for this body prayer, and to the Trinity Choir for their voices. Our piano leadership is provided, as usual, by Lauren Thompson, and wasn't it great to see her on Christmas Eve for her prelude? Please stand in body and/or spirit and join us in the singing, in the body prayer, or both.
She that sings the earth to thee, she is birthing and sustaining. She the life, the wisdom, she of the things that we that yearn for, and that justice now shall keep evermore and evermore.
Good morning, Trinity. I'm Light German, and my husband Bob and I have been at this welcoming community for a little more than 8 years. Today's reading is from Luke chapter 2, the birth of Jesus, verses 15 to 24 and 39 to 40. When the angels had left them and gone into the heavens, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go now to Bethlehem and see this thing that has taken place, which God has made known to us." So they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the child lying in the manger. When they saw this, they made known what had been told them about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen, as it has been told them. After 8 days had passed, it was time to circumcise the child, and he was called Jesus, the name given by the angel before he was conceived in the womb. When the time came for their purification according to the law of Moses, they brought him up to Jerusalem to present him to God, as it is written in the law of God. Every firstborn male shall be designated as holy to God. And they offered a sacrifice according to what is stated in the law of God: a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. When they had finished everything required by the law of God, they returned to Galilee, to their own town of Nazareth. The child grew and became strong, filled with wisdom, and the favor of God was upon him.
Hi Trinity, I'm Jonelle Gola. My boys and I, Elias and Liam, are very blessed to be with y'all this weekend and very glad to be looking into a new year of possibilities. The reading I'm sharing with you today comes from The Work of Christmas by Howard Thurman. Howard Thurman was an African-American theologian, educator, and civil rights leader. The poem, The Work of Christmas, is from Howard Thurman's The Mood of Christmas and Other Celebrations. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins: to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the people, to make music in the heart.
When I was a kid, my parents really built up Christmas time. My parents owned a small toy store in my hometown of Kokomo, Indiana, called the Toy Barn. And it was open only for a few months of the year. And during that time, it was abuzz with activity. It was filled with all sorts of toys from all over. My mother worked at it, my father. My grandmother was often there when my parents were doing their regular job. Grandma was kind of watching things. My sisters and I would run around as very small children with the rules that we could look at the toys, sometimes even touch them, but we had to be very, very careful with them because they were not our toys. They were to be given away or sold to other people. And so it was difficult because there were so many cool things. And so, you know, as a child, I look back on that and think, wow, what a blissful activity for children. Later on, I think when I was around 5 or 6, Kmart finally came into town, and like a lot of small businesses, when the big thing comes in town, it no longer could sustain itself at Christmas. So that was the end of the toy barn. But it was a wonderful thing for a child. And then I remember the first sort of doubts that I had about the reality of Santa Claus was when we would open up presents on Christmas morning. And isn't it crazy that Santa, in his shop in the North Pole, made the same exact toys that we had at the toy barn? I just thought that was so curious. But I kept on believing because it was fun to believe. That was a good way to spend Christmas. But then when Christmas was over and all the toys were lying out on the floor everywhere, my sisters and I had a full day of to be honest, just kind of overstimulation. I remember the feeling of needing to help my dad begin to put up the Christmas decorations. That kind of disappointment. And so now what? Christmas is over, and we need to take down these lights, and they were all strung outside in the snow, and it was cold, and then we had to put them away under the crawl space and all those kinds of things. A very unfun time, and it was usually the day or two after Christmas. So as a child, I not only had the excitement of Christmas, but like many of you, experienced the letdown afterwards. And I've noticed that over the years, as a person of faith, as someone who celebrates this ritual of Advent and Christmas every year, I notice some of the same spiritually. All the energy and excitement that goes into the ritual for Christmas, and even this year as we've been meeting virtually, we've tried to create at least as much as possible of that sacredness of ritual. But every year there's always a sense of letdown when it's done. But I'm very aware that theologically, Christmas doesn't end. The Christ Mass continues on, not just for the 12 days of Christmas, which is often celebrated more in the Eastern Church than the Western Church, but throughout the year, there's a continuation of birthing, of being born, of creating, of union with the divine, and finding ways to translate that into real action. So Christmas doesn't really end. It just begins over and over and then continues. And so it's like catching it in the next wave. It doesn't ever really end. We just sort of forget about it. And then we catch it as it comes back around again and participate in it. So what does it mean to catch that wave now, just a day or two after Christmas? Well, what it means to me is asking what it means to live out that Christmas story in our everyday life. To recognize that there may be a letdown from the ritual, from the familial excitement that occurs, but that the real work is just beginning. Meister Eckhart talked about how God is lying on a maternity bed throughout eternity, giving birth to the divine, and that we are called to be maternal and give birth to the divine, whether we're male or female, or we identify as both or neither. And so the birthing is something that belongs to all of us. That's what the ritual of Christmas is. A number of years ago, I first came across a powerful book of poems by Howard Thurman. And I knew about him as an activist. I knew about him as a civil rights leader. I had heard about him as a poet, but this particular poem really hit me. And we heard it just a few moments ago, but I want to repeat it again, just so you can hear it. To me, this is what it means to step away from the manger and ask, what does this birth mean to me? Here's what he said. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoners, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the people, to make music in the heart. That's a tall order. Reminds me of Jesus' words at his home synagogue in Nazareth when he shared his mission. And it brings those two together, this idea of Christmas with the ongoing Christ Mass into the world. What does it mean to embody this one Jesus in our world today? It's a tall order. I think about the wonderful story that I heard many years ago by Walter Wangerin called "The Manger is Empty." And he tells the story of being a pastor and having a young daughter. And there was a woman in his congregation who his daughter just adored, an African-American woman, very old. And one of the things that they had a tradition of is singing carols. And this woman had an incredible voice and had a particular attachment to Wangerin's daughter, who happened to be named Mary. And just a few days before Christmas on this year, the woman died. And they had a funeral in the sanctuary. And there at the front of the sanctuary in the chancel area was the casket. And like many churches, when before the service begins, there's often a time that the casket is open. And Wangerin remembers his daughter looking into the manger. And she called it that, even though it was a casket. And he made an interesting connection there when she went home and said, I looked in the manger and saw this dear woman. The trick is that a day later, Mary was to play Mary in the Christmas play on Christmas Eve. And he wondered if she could do it because she had been so solemn after the death of this dear woman in the church. And so he went to her and he said, do you want to be Mary? And of course she knew he meant Mary, the mother of Jesus. And she said, I am Mary. Of course. And so she was up for it. Well, they got to the church and her daughter put on her best show in the midst of her own grief. Children were running around. Families were going here and there. It was a buzz with the excitement of a Christmas pageant and Christmas Eve in general. And then it came time for the play. The lights went down. There was a time of beautiful caroling and singing. And there were three figures coming in. It was obviously a Mary and Joseph and maybe a shepherd or an angel or something, 3 figures in the shadows came up. And Wangaren was, of course, watching not just all the children of the church, but he was especially paying attention to his own daughter Mary, and in the hopes that she would do okay. And there was this beautiful caroling, and he noticed that as "What Child Is This" was being sung, his daughter reached into the manger. And then suddenly she jerked her hand back out. And the next thing he knows, she's grabbing the doll that was in there, wrapped in swaddling clothes, and dragged it out like a limp rag to the side in the sacristy area, and then left through the door. And there was murmuring going on, and how do we continue on with the play? And at the same time, being embarrassed a little bit, he was concerned about his daughter. They continued on somehow with the singing. They acted as if it hadn't happened. There was no Mary any longer in the play. But after a few minutes, she came back out the door and walked up back into the chancel area. And this time she knelt and had just the most beautiful eyes. He said the light shined in a silent night, concluded the pageant. He felt teary. His wife felt teary. The congregation felt teary. Something holy had taken place. Afterwards, in the car, he had this conversation, and I just have to read it to you because I think it's just, I can't summarize it. Mary sat immediately behind me in the car as we drove home. A sifting snow made cones below the streetlights. It blew lightly across the windshield and closed us in a cotton privacy. I had been driving in silence. Mary said, "Dad?" I said, "What?" She said, "Dad, Jesus wasn't in the manger. That wasn't Jesus. That was a doll." "Ah, Mary, so you have the eyes of a realist now," he thought, "and there is no pretending anymore. It was a doll indeed, so death reveals realistics." "Dad?" "What?" She said, "Jesus, he doesn't have to be in the manger, does he? He goes back and forth, doesn't he? I mean, he came from heaven and he was born right here, but then he went back to heaven again. And because he came and went, he's coming and going all the time. Right?" "Right," I whispered, and thought to myself, "Teach me, child. It is so good to hear you talk again." "The manger is empty," Mary said. And then she said more gravely, "Dad, Miss Williams' box is empty too. I figured it out. We don't have to worry about the snow." She stared out the windshield a moment, then whispered the next thing as softly as if she were peeping at presents. "It's only a doll in her box. It's like a big doll, Dad. And we put it away today. I figured it out. If Jesus can go across, then Miss Williams, she crossed the same way too, with Jesus. Jesus, he don't never let one of us go. Never," little Mary remembered Miss Williams saying at one time. "Dad," said Mary, who could ponder so much in her heart, like the Mary in Luke's gospel. Why are you crying? In his heart, Walter thought, babies, babies. We be in the hand of Jesus, recalling the words of Miss Williams. Old ones, young ones, as you together. Jesus, he hold us in his hand, and ain't no one going to snatch us out. Jesus, he don't never let one of us go. Never, not never, Miss Williams said. And then he responded to his daughter, because I have nothing else to say. I haven't had the words for some time now. Dad? What? Don't cry. I can talk for both of us. It always was. It always will be. It was in the fullness of time when the Christ child was first born. It was in 1981 when my daughter taught me the times and the crossing of times on Christmas Eve. It is the every celebration of Christ's own crossing, and it shall be forever. That is the power of a wise love, wisely expressed, to transfigure the heart suddenly, forever. My friends, the manger is empty because Christ is born in us. We are the hands and feet of God in the world, in a world hurting. As we cross into the new year, as we make our resolutions and then break them, here's one I hope we don't break. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the people, to make music in the heart. Thanks be to God. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Amen.
Our song of response today is a new piece that I've written for this service based on the poem by Howard Thurman that Jonelle read for you earlier, and which has formed a centerpiece for this service today. The lyrics of the song are the words of the poem, and the melody I've written is made up of short phrases, many of which repeat, and so you should be able to pick it up fairly quickly. Please stand in body and or spirit and sing with me the work of Christmas.
When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and the princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the people, to make music in the heart. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and the princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, The work of Christmas begins. The work of Christmas begins.
Now is the time that we bring forth our offerings. In our worship space at Trinity, we always have two opportunities for our offerings. A wooden bowl for the support of the programs and ministries of Trinity. And your support of Trinity is critical for us to meet the commitment that we made to put the well-being of this community and the broader community first in our hearts and in our actions. And so while we will continue worshiping online, we will also continue to pay the dedicated folks who work with our children and our hourly staff. And we'll continue to make our facilities available to Hope Food Pantry and to maintain those facilities. Trinity remains committed to the health and well-being of the whole community. We remain committed to following the advice and guidance of health professionals and scientists, even as we all yearn to embrace this beloved community and to act in typical Trinity fashion to support those in need, those who are oppressed, and those who are made invisible. To support that mission, we have a woven basket for a special offering each week, and this time again it is for the Justice Ministries of the United Methodist Church and the United Church of Christ. Giving to these causes helps us to do the right things for justice that are far beyond the scope of our local congregation, and to allow us to continue to contribute to transforming justice causes on a global scale. It's also a Trinity tradition that our staff Christmas bonuses are provided by the generosity of the congregation. In the past years, we've provided little gift bags in the sanctuary and on the tables at the Christmas banquet. So to add this offering, this year, we add this now to our remote giving. There are several methods by which you can give to Trinity today. You can visit our website at www.trinitychurchofaustin.org and click the Support tab, and then scroll down that page to find the options there. You can download the Give Plus mobile app from either iTunes or Google Play, and you may also text your offering to 512-967-0292 and add the keyword special to support the justice ministries of the UMC and the UCC, and add the keyword bonus to support the staff Christmas bonuses. And if you want to give to both the general fund and one of these special offerings, send two texts, one with the keyword special or the keyword bonus, and one without, or three texts, one for each. Please send Trinity your most generous offerings today.
Hey Trinity, it's Gus, your pastoral intern here, with a few highlights before we end the service. As usual, you can reach out for Pastoral Care, either directly to Sid's cell phone, which is down in the description of the video, or to the email address pastoralcare@trinitychurchofaustin.org. That email just goes to the pastoral staff, only Sid and Mark and myself and Joe. Also, the staff Christmas bonuses are available for your donations. They're made possible through this special offering at this time of the year. There's information on how to donate online down in the description or in the weekly email update. We also have adult Sunday school classes still going on. They're in the hour before this service every Sunday morning. Those groups include the Happy Heretics group, the Lydia group, and the Social Justice class. If you'd like to find out how to join those Google Meets, they're all virtual, please email office@trinitychurchofaustin.org for the links to those. And finally, we're still having our virtual coffees with Sid. Those are Thursday mornings at 10:30 a.m. Also email office@trinitychurchofaustin.org if you would like to get the Google Meet link to join that. Come, show up, bring a coffee or your favorite beverage for Thursday mornings, and check in, say how you're doing, connect with other people. Just a friendly hangout in the virtual space. That's all I have. I'll hand it over to Sid for the benediction.
And now may the peace of God go with us. May the power of God sustain us. And may the love of God keep us together forever. Amen.
Deck the hall with boughs of holly. Fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel. Fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol. Fa la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us. Fa la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus. Fa la 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 la. Fa